Okay, welcome back, dear viewers. I'm going to do a little dive into Slügs, a free RPG day supplement from Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Um, Before we get into that, though, this is what I do. I play games. I record myself playing those games, and then I talk about those games. I got nothing against the flip through review. Sometimes I find that uh, a slick product that gets that looks good on paper just ends up not being too much fun once you start playing it. And sometimes there's like these little hidden gems out there that are like lo-fi, not well produced, but a lot of fun to play. So if this is something that you think is interesting, that my content might be helpful to you, please hit like and subscribe and the bell icon. Slugs is a free RPG day supplement that came out in 2016. It's just a bestiary full of slugs. I think there's like maybe I don't know how many are in there. It's not it's like maybe 16 or something like that. And you know, I didn't have I'm not sure exactly what to say about it without like going through talking about each creature and I don't want to give too much away. I mean, it's free. You can download it, look at it yourself. Um, oh yeah, there's 16 creatures in here. Um, but when I first got this, it was in my initial flurry of wow, I love Lamentations of the Flame Princess. I'm just going to get everything I possibly can. And when I read through it, I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, this is weird. Maybe I'll use it. I don't know. And I would give it a 2 out of 5. Like it's just like, it's this thing. But now that I've seen people use it, and I myself have actually used it, this is actually a surprisingly cool product. Like, I give it a 4 out of 5. And it's free, so just pick it up and read it for yourself. And today's video is going to be a little bit more than just talking about the different slugs. It's going to be talking about how you could potentially use them, and that's exactly what I think the biggest problem with this um, product is. I mean, it's written with a little tongue in cheek. The slugs are kind of affable at times. Some of them are anyway, while others are kind of monstrous. And so they have some really weird abilities. But I mean, with a little ingenuity, imagination, you can make this work for you. I in my campaign, Lamentations of Elemental Evil, I used one of the slugs just in the most recent session, and everyone had a good time with it. I always get a little worried because those players, jumped into the Lamentations game with a more traditional D&D fantasy background, and I've been throwing weird stuff at them every now and again. So so they've been good sports, but they did enjoy the session. Um, so let's get into it. So how to use this book? Well, at one level, you could just use it as a horror of the Underdark. So there's a glass slug that is it's made of glass that bends and whatnot, and as you're attacking it, it starts leaking fluid, which does some stuff, and if you kill it, it explodes, sending shards of glass everywhere. But the weird thing about it is it collects light and kind of glows in the dark, but it can also use that light to create sort of like doppelganger images of the people attacking it. So this could be an interesting creature that your players face in the Underdark. Another one is the rock slug. This one has been like infected with like this living rock sort of contagion, and it's very unhappy about it, but it just wants to be left alone. But uh, if it can shoot rocks off its back, and if it attacks an opponent and hits that creature, the target could be infected with the rock contagion, and that target starts becoming like it. It becomes like a living rock, and it can't be healed by normal means. You have to have a mason do it. But if the contagion's ever healed, all the healing it received when it was a rock from a mason now turns to damage. It's a little confusing, but it's a monstrosity that you can face in the Underdark. Another good one is the spider slug. It's literally a hybrid, and instead of secreting slime, it secretes a kind of webbing. It's probably the more horrific creature one could find in the Underdark in this bestiary. Another good one is the vomit slug. It's radioactive, and its vomit does damage, and it's there's a D8 table, and it produces random effects. Kind of an interesting, horrific creature that you can use. Where I have seen this used the most, and by the most I mean twice, including mine, is the leader of some cult, or like the object of a cult. So I use Dr. Slug as a cult focus, and Dr. Slug heals you. You can heal your diseases. It cannot be killed. It just heals all damage at the end of every round. However, if you're in close proximity to it, you gain a disease, and that only gets cured unless you show up at a particular time that is determined by Dr. Slug. And if you miss the appointment, you got to roll again for your next appointment. We had a good time with it. Dr. Slug's a good guy. He doesn't even attack you, I don't think. I think he just sits there and wonders why you're trying to kill him. I brought up Fantastic Dimensions before. It's an actual play channel that has a really cool Lamentations of the Flame Princess campaign, and 2 or 3 sessions are dedicated to a sex cult that worships the love slug. And basically, if you fail saving throws, you are charmed by it. You are overcome with sexual desire, and it will please you, but first you have to please it, and you actually go inside it to please it. And but you can gain some levels for pleasuring and satisfying the creature. It's an interesting. It was an interesting game session, and I do believe that may be the source of the love slug vocal meme or whatever that goes around whenever this is brought up. So I would check it out if you really want to see that. If you're into actual plays and you want to see the love slug in action. A couple other neat potential cult creatures. The Mentalo slug could be like a hidden sage behind knowledge-seeking monks. This creature knows everything, but it won't give you information unless you perform a particular task for it, and these tasks are really weird. The Hypno slug, it hypnotizes opponents and can have them do weird stuff. I can sort of see the Hypno slug being the brains behind a like a thieves guild or something, and then the ocular slug is interesting, and that's what this image is here. Those who fail at save, like he can switch perspectives and can start seeing through the eyes of whoever, of his agents, essentially. I thought that this might be a cool way to use the ocular slug, is like this hidden force behind, the CIA or a group of Black Knights or something, but then you also have a variety of creatures that aren't that don't seem amenable to being a random encounter in the Underdark or cult. And this is sort of like a random event, I think, or encounter on the hex map, similar to what I was talking about in my last video with Tales of the Scarecrow. These might be cool slugs to use as like something that just sort of happens, and the players maybe get involved with it. So starting at the bottom, the Christmas slug, that's on the front cover. Basically, it travels the world and dispenses treats and weird trinkets and stuff. Valuable. That would be kind of interesting. You could probably put on your hex map its path, and if you're keeping strict time records, maybe the players cross it. There's the acid slug, which is just happy to frolic in the woods and nature and wants to be just full of peace and harmony. And if you attack it, it secretes a very hallucinogenic slime that can basically force the players to engage with essentially an acid trip for the remainder of the fight or whatever, or maybe while it escapes back into the forest. And then there's the breakfast slug, which travels the countryside looking for metal. The spoon is sort of like a magnet, and it will attract magnetic things that eventually get dissolved in its milk, and then it eats the metal. And the byproduct, its excrement, are these tasty wheat treats that are actually, it counts as rations. So again, put it on the hex map with like a set path, and maybe the players will cross it, maybe they won't. Um, And then, while I was thinking about all this, I thought, what if these were like a pantheon of gods? And I might actually do this in my next campaign. What if, in kind of like a Thulsa Doom sort of way, instead of worshiping snakes, they're worshiping slugs. So you have the muscle slug, which is just this very tough, muscly dude. I don't have a picture of it. But he could be the god of strength, right? And then you get the Mentalo slug, could be the god of wisdom and intelligence. Doctor slug, health and disease. The love slug, god of love. The sluggish slug, god of sloth. The breakfast slug, god of the hearth. And then the acid slug, god of song, beauty, and peace. I'm sure with a little ingenuity and creativity, you could turn a few others into, additional gods, and then they could be like living gods in your world somewhere, or So anyway, that was just something that came to mind while I was working on this, and I think it might be kind of fun to do. So being a free RPG day supplement, it's got like essentially the Lamentations stat blocks, but it being OSR, it can be used anywhere. So like, I was also kind of thinking like, where else would you use this? Because again, it's this very strange bestiary. Well, obviously Lamentation of the Flame Princess. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. The Love Slug was perfect for like this 17th century weird Europe, near Earth sort of realistic campaign. When they discovered the sex cult was actually worshiping a giant slug, it was kind of horrific, right? Similarly, Dr. Slug was, a kind of like this horrific thing. The players didn't even confront it; they decided to burn the monastery down and walk away, right? But I was also thinking, like, Dungeon Crawl Classics would work, could be used, right? Because that's kind of like more of a pulp feel, right? So if you're going with the cult sort of idea, you can run with this, and I think you could have some fun with Dungeon Crawl Classics too, it would still work in terms of tone, right? And then the Gonzo nature of the supplement, just you could totally use it in Chult. Use Crimson Dragon Slayer. It would work perfectly, and you could do a lot more with it. I know Chult has random worms that travel and can sandworms, right, and clown worms. So like the slugs here would fit perfectly. And in fact, you could probably do the whole pantheon thing there too. Have like city states. So then you have like Chult meets Dark Sun meets slugs. I don't know, but there's some ideas there. I'm not sure if this would work with a sci-fi setting, but again, call me crazy. You could have like the ocular slug being an alien intelligence taking over a space station, as he's like switching perspectives with everyone on the space station. Um, so yeah, I don't know. There's a lot you can do with this. Just gotta flex your creative muscles there. Um, so I do think this is worth picking up. It's free, and with a little creative energy, you can make it work for you. I think a lot of times, as GMs, we worry too much about putting together something serious all the time. It's got to be dark. It's got to be or life and death, and it's got to matter, and it's got to be like this crazy, awesome, you know, combat with this horrific creature or dangerous creature. Slugs is going to bring a little levity to your game, and I think that that can actually help your game something a little different from the constant grimdark. If you're like me, you know, I like grimdark. I like that dark fantasy stuff. Even when I'm doing classic fantasy with my buddy's 2E game that he was running, you know, every now and again, you know, something funny, just to be different. I think you'll get a lot of mileage out of this, and like I said, it's free, so why not? Just download it, take a look. Um, but that's it for the today. I hope you enjoyed this video. More to come, and I appreciate your time. Happy gaming, y'all.